Persian and Arabic literature. This is AnaLea Ignacio Serrano, an overseas Filipino worker from Dubai, United Arab Emirates for 14 years, married and with 3 beautiful children, graduating student of OED, employed and always striving for the best. Learning outcomes. After this report, you can examine selected works from Persian and Arabic literature. You can familiarize with selected stories from the Thousand and One Nights. Point out metaphors from Firdaus the Shahnameh and Omar Khayyam's The Rubaiyat. Arabic literature. By the time of Muhammad's birth, the Arabs already possessed large body of poetry. For centuries, poets from all over Arabia had gathered to recite odes, or qasidas, praising their own tribe or making fun of others. Arabs continued to appreciate poetry. Arabic prose also began to develop, although the earliest works are religious in nature and dealt, directly or indirectly, with texts of the Quran. Quran, the primary document of Islamic faith, the first Arabic book. Quran style, vigorous and concise, deeply influenced later compositions in Arabic as it continues to color the mode of expression of native speakers of Arabic, Christian as well as Muslim, both in writing and in conversations. The earliest Arabic prose came into being not from literary moves, but to serve religious and practical needs, above all the need to fully understand the Islamic revelation and the first circumstances of the first Muslim community in the Hijaz. The sayings and action of the Prophet and his companions were collected and preserved, at first by memory and then by writing, to be finally collected and arranged by such men as al-Bukhari and Muslim in the 9th century. Hadith or saying is a first-person narrative, usually by an eyewitness of the event described. They have an intimacy and freshness that has come down and unimpaired through the centuries. These also form the raw material for historians of the early community. Examples of the Hadith. God changes not what is in a people until they change what is in themselves. When the help of God arrives and victory, and you see human beings entering God's religions in hordes, then recite the praises for your Lord and seek forgiveness of Him. Indeed, He is relenting. Islamic Arabs also enjoyed listening to fables and folktales. The Thousand and One Nights, also known as Arabian Nights, is far the most famous. The Arabian Nights is a collection of tales from the Islamic Golden Age, compiled by various authors over many hundreds of years. This is the framed story of the Sultan Shahryar and his wife Scheherazade. After finding out that his first wife is unfaithful, Shahryar kills her and swears to marry a different woman each night before killing her the following morning to prevent further betrayal. Scheherazade, his vicious daughter, concocts a plan to end this pattern. She marries Shahryar and then begins to tell him a story that night. However, she stops the story in the middle so that he will be excited to hear the rest of the following night. The next morning, she finishes the story and then begins another, and following the same pattern for 1,000 nights, until Shahryar has a change of hearts. The story she tells compromises the collection. Persian literature. The form of literature for which Persia is best known is poetry. In the ninth and 10th century, several poets attempted to write epic for poems describing Persian history. The most famous of these poems is the Shahnameh, or Epic of Kings, by Ferdowsi. Shahnameh is presented as a history of Persia from the beginning of the world until the conquest of Iran by the Arabs. The most important hero is the warrior Rustam. Omar Khayyam, a mathematician and a scientist, is another Persian poet. He is probably best known Islamic poet in the West. Rubaiyat, a collection of poetry, is attributed to him. His poems are written in a literary form known as the Rubai. From Firdausi's the Shahnameh. From sunrise till the shadows grew they strove, until Surab, that maddened elephant, reached out, up leaping with the lion's spring. From the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam the 28th. With them the seed of wisdom did I sow, and with mine own hand wrought to make it grow. And this was all the harvest I reaped. I came like water, and like the wind I go. For Persians and Arabs, the undeniable love for their literature, and to pass it to generations, is something will be unlikely will not be erased anymore, even centuries will pass. Their richness in literature will be more improved and well preserved as time goes by.